My name's Dan Harrington, computer teacher, STEM. I've been with the district 14 years now. Well, I was working at Ideas Computers as a help desk manager when I learned of the media center position at the Prairie Elementary was open. So I interviewed with Josh Noble and some of his colleagues, and I got the job, obviously. So I started with the district as a media specialist in the library for my first year. After that year, Mrs. Lester retired from computers, and Mr. Nobles asked me if I would be interested in that position, and that was a no-brainer because I worked in IT for almost 20 years, and the idea of combining education with computer technology was very appealing to me. Kind of. In second grade, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and of course, over a period of time, life led me down other roles. But in 2005, I got a phone call from the VA telling me I was eligible for a vocational rehab program, which I could go back to school and finish my education that way. I was going to stay in IT, but Gateway computers closed their doors, and so the job market was saturated with people looking for work in that field, and they felt I wasn't marketable at that time to to make it worth their while, and how much it would cost to go back to college. So I thought about going into education at that time because I had thought about it when I was younger, and it was a good chance, opportunity to jump into that, and I did. I wasn't sure at that time. It just sounded like a really good idea. My wife and I raised 5 children, so I've been around kids for quite a while. Little did I know it was an entirely different world, but at the time I didn't know. But the first couple of years I was in college, I had the opportunity of being exposed to elementary, middle school, and high school students, just teaching small classes, just to get that exposure. And that's when I knew that that's the career I wanted to pursue. When I joined the Marine Corps, I worked in the communications center, and the communications part with the message trafficking, we used computers, modems, and encryption, decryption devices, and I really got into it at that time. And then we bought a computer and ran what we called a virtual bulletin board service where people would dial in. We didn't have internet back then, so that was probably the next best thing to it. 2 people could come in at a time, play the games, leave messages, and leave. And that's where I knew I wanted to. Once I exited the military, I was going to pursue computers. I remember learning computers with DOS 4.0. I really did fight Windows when it first came out. We had Windows 3.1, so you could use a mouse, but I was more about doing the typing, the commands. So when Windows 95 came out, that was about the same time I got my first job in computers, and that was with Gateway in Sioux Falls. And that just kind of fed my desire to learn more about technology. You buy in a computer, play with it. Next thing you know, you're taking them apart to see how they work. And that part, I think, is what inspires students to want to learn computer technology, not just the game aspect, but what's inside of that box. I would bring computers in from home, and we'd take it apart and say, this is a video card, this is why you can see the things you see. You have your input devices, your mouse, keyboard, there's a way they communicate, and we get into coding and talking about how coding, brings all those parts of the computer together to form what they see as just one device. Well, first of all, I learned from the students. There's some things they know about technology that I wasn't aware of, so I'm able to build on my expertise by what students taught me. But I think the aha moment when something clicks, and then you always have those students that want to take it a little bit further, and I enjoy watching that happen. There's some students, they're like, oh, this isn't going to do me any good later in life. And then I remind them that the skills they learned, like coding, it's problem solving. You have to break down the problem, start from the beginning, find out where the problem is, and then work towards a resolution. And So there's some students that, look at it from that aspect. But I think just working with the kids and trying to make it fun, if they walk out of the classroom having fun and learning something, I felt like I've done my job. Are they all going to be computer programmers when they graduate from Worthington? No. But I'm hopeful that they take some part of what I taught them with them, into life later. Everything is good in moderation. We've seen students where, growing up, we went outside and played all the time. We didn't have that technology other than the TV. But, you have kids today, they'd rather just stay at home, sit in front of the TV and play games all day. That's not a good thing. Finding a way to moderate that, and through showing them that there are other things you can do with technology other than play games, I think, is important. And that's what I try to do in the classroom. And I'm hopeful that they take some of that, at home with them. And, I even talk to them about screen time and how they should regulate, hey, do an hour on the computer and then go outside and play for an hour, be with your friends, interact, because, with like when MySpace first came out and Facebook came out, Facebook first was just for college students, and that's where I learned about it. And now it's open to everybody, and I think teaching that moderation, that just kind of across the spectrum should, not just with the devices, but I remember when the school board approved the purchase of a couple of what we call Lego Mindstorm robots. So we had a group of kids that would stay after school, and they would build the robots and then program it with their iPads. And I think those students enjoyed it a lot because, number one, they're learning with me. We're all learning together. And then they had the opportunity to go up in front of the school board and present what they learned. And in the process, that the school purchased more of those devices. And so we would have like a robotics club in the mornings. I would rotate the fourth grade students. They would come in for so many weeks, build the robots, and then they would, once they were built, then they would have robot wars. I had this carpet, and we'd put all the robots in there. And some mornings got kind of crazy, but those are some good memories that I'll take with me when I leave, for sure. For me, it's the relationships that I've made. At first, I thought it would be about what I was teaching. That's not the case. That stuff will change over time, but the relations that I built will last. And just an example, my wife and I were in Perkins the other day for supper, and this young man came up, took our order, and he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, "Did you teach computers at Prairie Elementary?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And he remembered the fun. He said, "That was one of my favorite classes I took." And he goes, "I remember you telling me the one thing that stuck is, they all had to wear headphones, and make sure you don't get too loud because it will ruin their hearing when they get older." And for some reason that stuck with them. And then it's kind of funny, it was like a week later I had another student here tell me the same thing. "I remember you telling us to turn it down, it was too loud, we could hurt our ears." But the fact that he remembered that, who knows, maybe I saved some hearing, I don't know. But I run across the kids at the high school, and when you go to scooters, and when students recognize you, I think that's huge. And so I would have to say, the relationships I made and the connections I made with the kids. So it's a Young Marines program. Yep. So when I retire, I'll still stay heavily involved with that. And in fact, some of my students are in the program. So I'll be able to keep that connection with the kids. And then my wife and I also run the Nobles County Toys for Tots, where we do our best to get toys into the hands of those kids that probably wouldn't have got them otherwise at Christmas time. So I'll stay busy with those two programs outside of still I plan on substitute teaching. Like I told my wife, I said I can't quit cold turkey. I still want to come to the school and see the kids and interact with them in any way I can. And being with school for 14 years, I pretty much had the kids all the way up from fourth grade into senior year. So when I do come back and sub, the kids will know me and I will know most of them. So yeah, I have two grandchildren, one in Rapid City and one in Florida. So we plan on traveling a little bit more to see them. Also, with the Young Marines program, I oversee 7 other units in the Midwest Division. So I plan on doing a little bit of traveling, attending their units, and hopefully get some more Young Marine programs started within the division. So I plan on staying pretty busy. I'm not gonna sit at home on the couch and play games, you know. I plan on staying active as much as I can. This is the only school district I've ever worked for. You know, I'm a late bloomer. It was 2000. I'm 61, almost 62 now, and I've been teaching 14 years. Prior to that, it was IT. Um, it's I, I I struggle. It's a bittersweet decision to retire, and at first I was very excited about it. Now there's been days I've second guessed myself because yeah, I've had students come up and say, "Mr. Harrington, are you retiring?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you. I wish you would stay." You know, this is probably the best decision I ever made, and as I look back, I wish I would have thought about going into education much earlier in my life. But I think there's a time and a place for everything, and the last 14 years I will certainly relish as probably the best decision I ever made as far as a career. Yeah, I think Worthington, the school district is going down the right path. I'm watching from the sides, you know, everything going on. When I left Prairie Elementary, they changed the STEM program there, working with the kids, and it's amazing what Julie has done with Prairie. And now Mrs. Doden at the intermediate school, I'm seeing things uh, different than what I've done. We've all got our, you know, our skill set, and it's smart of the district to change things up and bring new things in. And I think that's just going to be their philosophy moving forward. You know, we have new leadership, and the scope and the insight that I've been hearing about. I'm looking forward to seeing where the school district goes, and I still want to be part of that. And to do that, I'll be substitute teaching and still kind of get to see what's going on, but in the classroom instead of from the outside. Um, yeah, I realize, you know, as I look around and I talk to other teachers that have been here 30, 40 years, and, you know, when people say, wow, you're retiring as a teacher already, and I've only been here 14 years, but I think working with the different staff, whether it's in the classroom, the paras, the custodians, I have learned so much from them in that 14 years, and I just want to say thank you. Thanks for the ride. It's been a great 14 years. It's hard to leave. It's nothing personal. It's just I'm ready for the next step. I'm only 61, 62. I don't want to retire when it's too late. I want to still enjoy the things that I can do while I'm physically able to do it. So if I had to leave one message, it's just thank you. Thanks for bringing me into the fold and treating me part of the family.